Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Thursday. So I talked a little bit about a buzzbait yesterday in the top 5 baits of the month of October. I pretty much just told you that it's a year-round thing for me. So I always have it rigged up, not going to just throw it in the month of October. I throw it year-round. Once that water gets 53, 54, maybe a little bit warmer in the pre-spawn, it's part of the game plan. And I'm going to run that through the spawn, post-spawn, summer, and of course the fall, the best time of year to throw it. But I want to talk about a buzz bait around a couple different lakes because I think that's probably the best way to explain what a buzz bait can tell you. And I've done videos about this last fall, but I want to talk about specific instances and explain to you kind of why there may be a period in the fall where it doesn't catch big ones and then it becomes this magic bait. So the buzz bait for me, I keep it pretty simple. It's typically a 5/16 ounce accent buzzbait. I love that sound. That's the most important thing to me with the actual lure. And I throw it in a couple different colors, gold blade with white. That can work in any condition, but I like that more on those cloudy days. Your black blade, even though it kind of muzzles the sound, it's going to be good on those sunny days. A black horny toad is going to be my bait, and that's typically what I'm putting on this 90% of the time. 90% of the time is a black horny toad or a white horny toad. But here's the deal: a buzz bait is a big fish bait. When I talk about throwing it in 53, 54 degree water, you may bring your grandpa fishing. He may be sitting back there. The water may be that cold, and you're wondering why he continues to throw it all day and not get bit. But when you catch one that time of the year, March, super cold water, it's going to be as long as your arm. I mean, it's going to be a giant. Now, you may throw it all day and only catch one fish, so it's not something that I would advise you to pick up and just not set down, but in little windows, if you can get a bite on it, it is a big fish killer. Now, it's good up until this point, but here we go. So let's talk about this bait on 2 different lakes because people come to Guntersville. I've had some of the best fishermen in the world come here, have a conversation with me about a buzzbait, and go, why don't they bite a buzzbait on Lake Guntersville? So I'm going to tell you basically why they don't bite it specific periods of the fall, why they bite it other periods of the fall, and then let's talk about 2 different lakes because this will be the best way that I can explain these different scenarios. So talk about Lake Seminole. Lake Seminole I've been to half a dozen times. I've been there 3 times as a co-angler, 3 times with my own boat. I've been there 3 times in the fall, 3 times in the spring, and it is a phenomenal buzzbait lake. And I'm going to do some explaining on why it stays so good, and then I'm going to talk about Guntersville, why it's hot and cold with it. And I think that's, again, the best way to explain the buzzbait. So here we go. On Guntersville, in the fall time, everyone thinks buzzbait fall, and you're right. Buzzbait is the deal in the fall. It's going to tell you more about how aggressive your fish are and where your fish are set up and what they're feeding on better than anything else this time of year when you don't really know what your fish are feeding on, where they're at, and how necessarily to get them to bite. When you have a ton of shade and you still have warmer water, the frog's going to be a much better option than a buzzbait because those bass are really going to get on shade. This will also tell you how much your fish like to move around. So on Guntersville, in contrast to Seminole, when the bass tuck up under shade in the fall time, they're going to stay there. It seems like on Seminole, the fish are moving around a lot more. And why I come up with this theory is that on Guntersville, when you find them, you can typically go back and catch them for days in those same areas as long as you don't catch them all. On Seminole, it seems like it changes every day. And I don't know if that's because Seminole kind of has more river qualities, being the big creek arms and the river coming into it. But it seems like the fishing changes a lot. So one day you can catch them punching really good, but those fish don't tend to reload, or you just can't go and do it 2 days in a row. So that's why for me on Seminole, it seems like that buzzbait is always going to be a player because those fish are moving around a whole lot more. On Guntersville, the buzzbait isn't a big player when those fish are really utilizing that shade. But as that grass starts to die and that shade goes away and the water cools off, happens about the same time, where they don't necessarily need the shade for all the oxygen and to get comfortable. They can move around a lot. That's when the buzzbait starts to play. And I will say this, when it's not grass related, I've caught the biggest bass on a buzzbait on Lake Gunnersville in the month of September underneath docks. So it is totally a shade thing. The problem with a buzzbait around the grass is they are really tucked up. There's no way you can get a buzzbait to them. You can, however, get a buzzbait to them when they're on the docks. You can skip it way back under there, and you can catch those 6+ pound bass on a buzzbait in the month of September. But if you try to fish for those bass in the grass with a buzzbait in September, you're probably not going to catch any really big ones. At least I never have in 10 years of living here. Seminole being a completely different fishery where you constantly have fish moving. So that's what a buzzbait is going to tell you a lot. How much are those fish moving? How more new fish are coming into your area, and they're in that little in-between place. They're not necessarily in the shade. They're not necessarily on the structure. They're kind of just floating, moving towards whatever they're moving towards. But that's where the buzzbait really is going to show you a lot. Are the fish moving, or are they hunkered down? So that's what I like about it. And then once we get a little bit later, that water starts to cool down, the bass have to move. Their shade is going away. They don't necessarily need to be in that cooler or looking for cooler water. Everything's kind of cool, and they can just kind of go. Then you start catching those big ones everywhere on Gunnersville. So we need cool water, and we need a shortage of shade for that to work. So that's going to be the whole thing with this buzzbait, and that's what I like about it so much. And there's other times of the year where it's going to do similar things that no other bait does. Like when I talk about throwing it in March, you may have a problem trying to catch a big fish or above average fish. The buzzbait can tell you that. So again, you're wondering why Grandpa keeps throwing it when the water's cold. He knows if he hooks up, he's going to scare you with a giant. And there's other things in other times of the year where, wow, this is doing a really good job of imitating little threadfin shad. I think most fishermen look at it and they go, that looks nothing like a fish. But when you see threadfin shad skipping across the top of the water, this does the best job imitating that, especially that whole school. And like a lot of other baits, a buzzbait comes in a bunch of different sizes. And it seems like your status quo fisherman, he throws one size. If he doesn't get bit on it, he's done. And there are other little periods of the year, like the post spawn, where you got to pick up that really small one. That really small one, that 1/4 ounce or that 1/8 ounce, or depending on your fishery, this one's the one that catches the big ones. This is the one that you need to be throwing first before you pick up the status quo size. So it's like a lot of baits, but the little one is still really, really good. And no one takes the time out of their day to try it. So that's buzzbaits. That's buzzbaits right now. And for the next 6 months, a lot of lakes, especially dock lakes, lakes that have little steeper banks, or shallow dock lakes that don't have a whole lot of cover, you can run a buzzbait all fall into the winter time when the bait doesn't move around a whole lot. And that's all you need. And the last thing I will say, there's probably not a more enjoyable bite and bait to throw. Throw it out, wind it back. Explosions on the surface are amazing, and that's probably the best way to fish and bass fishing when it's on. So buzzbait, if you haven't thrown it, man, I've never met a really good fisherman that wasn't a big fan of this bait. Try it. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.